सो हम जो ऑटोमेशन सिस्टम बना रहे थे, टूल्स ऑटोमेटिकली साइट के ऊपर पुश करने का और बनाने का, वो हमने कंटिन्यू कर दिया है। सो लेट्स सी।
Enter WorldCard. WorldCard is a virtual MasterCard built for media buyers. It supports over 50.
I love this library.
It is an absolutely beautiful library.
Are you a big reader?
I read a lot in general. I don't know that I've had that much time over the last year or so.
Dario Amodei is an unlikely AI celebrity. He's known for warning the world about the risks of artificial intelligence. Now, his company is an AI frontrunner, valued at nearly $1 trillion. You're shipping so much, so fast. How are you doing that?
We use Claude, across the product development cycle, and it allows us to release very fast.
Founded by a team of OpenAI defectors in 2021, Anthropic started out as an underdog lab. Today, it's the breakout star, wiping billions in value off software stocks, going head-to-head with the Pentagon, and creating models allegedly powerful enough to burst through the walls of modern cybersecurity.
Some of the early companies that we gave this to said things like, "This is a super weapon. Please don't release this."
Guiding Anthropic through this is a sibling duo. Dario, the brother and visionary, and Daniela, the sister and operator, who puts Dario's swirling cosmic thoughts into action.
Dario and I, we've always been really close since we were little, but I think we always really wanted to do something big together.
Okay, but when you argue, who wins?
No one.
No one.
As the AI arms race escalates, the Amodeis are eager to establish themselves as the good guys. But Anthropic's technology could have profound implications for how humanity works, learns, thinks, even fights wars.
Anthropic is run by an ideological lunatic.
This is a debate about what the proper use of AI by the government is.
At some point, the models become very dangerous. The bad guys will have it too. And at that point, we have to make sure the good guys have an even better model.
The name Anthropic actually comes from the Greek word for human, which speaks to their mission to build responsible AI for the long-term benefit of humanity. Can you actually do that when you're building the most powerful technology in the world? You are at the center of the AI universe right now. What does that feel like?
The experience I've had for my whole career, and certainly the whole time at Anthropic, is that there's this kind of smooth exponential. And the experience of the smooth exponential is nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Little things happen, and then zoom, it goes crazy. So, I was watching this graph for a while, and I said, oh yeah, we'll probably become the AI company with, the most revenue and the most valuation sometime around this time. And indeed it has happened. We're just keeping in mind all the things we usually keep in mind. How do we train good models? How do we put them in good products? How do we make sure that everything's safe?
What were you like as a kid growing up in San Francisco? I know your dad was a leather craftsman, your mom worked in libraries. How did that shape you?
The whole, first, internet revolution was happening around me, and I had absolutely no interest in it. I was just interested in doing math and scrolling things. I was interested in understanding the universe. I was interested in science fiction. I think I just felt a lot of curiosity about the world.
What was it like growing up with Dario?
He was so smart. He was taking, calculus when he was, in, I think, middle school. He took math classes at UC Berkeley when he was in high school. I was actually more into reading and arts, so we were almost like complete complements in that way.
Dario studied neuroscience before turning to AI at Baidu and later Google, while Daniela started out as an early employee at Stripe. They lived together in San Francisco, along with Daniela's husband, Holden Karnofsky. Then, in 2016, Dario joined the newly formed OpenAI, followed by Daniela in 2018. The company began as a nonprofit that promised a safe, more open path to superintelligence.
I think we need to think right now about how we want this deployed, how everyone gets to benefit from it, how we're going to govern it, how we're going to make it safe and sort of good for humanity.
At OpenAI, Dario developed the concept of scaling laws, predicting that large language models would improve simply by adding more data and computing power, even if the underlying algorithm stayed the same.
At that point in time, I know it sounds crazy now looking back. Not a lot of people believed, hey, scale up is the way that these models are going to get smarter and better. That was sort of an unusual, countercultural, scientific perspective that I think was really held by our, founding research team.
That approach helped supercharge OpenAI's models, paving the way for ChatGPT. But the Amadeus reportedly clashed with Altman over the company's direction and values. Altman has said, "For all the differences I have with Anthropic, I mostly trust them as a company."
Your decision to leave OpenAI has become Silicon Valley lore. What did you disagree on?
Look, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it very simply. There are many valid disagreements to be had on safety. We certainly had some of those disagreements with them, but people that alone is not sufficient to leave. When you feel that you can't trust someone, when you feel that their values are not what they say they are, when you feel that they're not honest, that makes it very hard to continue to work with a company, to continue to trust the company. And look, at the end of the day, why argue with someone when you don't have the same vision and you don't trust them? The way to resolve it is you go off and do your thing, they go off and do their thing.
So this is Piezee Park. When Dario and Daniela decided to leave OpenAI to start Anthropic, this is where the early team would get together. It was during the pandemic, so the story goes, and a bunch of early employees would come here, they'd pull up a chair on the grass, they'd have lunch, and they'd talk about what they were building.
When we started this company, there were 7 co-founders, of which me and Danielle are 2. And now, we're basically the only company in the space that has all of its co-founders still here. You don't get to, be a company of the size and scale that we are with that happening. Like, that almost never happens.
From the start, Anthropic pitched itself as the ultimate safety-conscious AI company. Dario has published long essays with names like Machines of Loving Grace and The Adolescence of Technology, musing on the miraculous potential of AI, as well as the worst-case scenarios. Anthropic's chatbot, Claude, has been trained to follow a set of principles called a constitution, intended to keep it on the straight and narrow.
Claude has a very distinct style and feel, a human name. What are you trying to convey?
I think when people interact with Claude versus, other systems, there is more of a feeling of, I like to describe it as professional warmth. So the goal is not for it to be your best friend, but it's not for it to be sort of cold, rote, calculating. It should feel approachable, but distant, right? Professional.
Anthropic has talked about teaching Claude to be good. What is a good model? What is a bad model?
You don't want a model that lies accidentally or intentionally, right? Lying we call hallucinations. It makes something up. The models are just trained to predict the next word, so sometimes they don't know and they just invent something. Models sometimes, as we've shown in our research, can purposely try to deceive you. We have to make sure that doesn't happen in production models that we expose to customers. And then there's a lot of work around harmlessness, just making sure that the model is not accidentally producing, information that is wrong or harmful or could cause someone to do something bad.
Whose values are being put into Claude? Like, is there a universal good? There's so many religions, so many different beliefs. Like, how do you even decide that?
So, of course, there's no universal standard for what makes something helpful or harmless, but there are founding documents in human history, like the UN Declaration of Human Rights, that we can use to train Claude's character. And I think, interestingly, on the religious front, we've actually started to have a lot of conversations with religious leaders around how should we think about, Claude the entity, and how can we bake in some of the kind of core values that are consistent across religions, types of belief, that really just transcend, a specific worldview, but that are really things that human beings have been grappling with for millennia.
Have you tried to give Claude a trait that didn't take, or was there any trait that emerged that surprised you?
I think in the early days, it's funny to look back on them now, the kind of early Claude 2 era, sometimes Claude would be almost a little bit nanny-ish. Claude was like, I'm really concerned about you. And you're like, Claude, I was asking for the weather, right? It was something really benign. Thankfully, we didn't, release most of the most egregious versions of those. But I think it is, when you think about it, it's like tuning a dial. And so our researchers have this very fine needle to thread in order to land at the center of that.
Whatever Anthropic is doing with Claude, it seems to be working. Anthropic's revenue has skyrocketed over the past year, making the company profitable for the first time. That's largely thanks to the company's focus on more lucrative business tools, Claude Code, a major leap that automated large chunks of software engineering, and Claude Cowork, which gave that power to everyone else.
Now, early on, others focused on fun, splashy consumer apps. You made a bet on coding and enterprise. Why did you make that bet? Was it a values decision or a business decision?
Look, if you pick a business model that fundamentally conflicts with your values, you're going to have a hard time, right? Either you betray your own values or you become irrelevant. And so when we thought about it, we said, look, we've seen the world of social media, the consumer world, it really seems to, encourage engagement, even addiction, the slop we've seen with AI video models. It's like, what's going on is it want to maximize the number of minutes that you're paying attention to, because that's the advertising revenue driven incentive. Whereas if we look at enterprise, look, we want to make these models useful to people. We want to use AI to cure diseases that we couldn't cure before, right? Well, that's working with biotech, it's working with pharma, it's working with academic research groups. All of those are enterprises, right? We want to use AI to to make energy cheaper and more efficient. That's all enterprise. And so I think it served us well to have this business model that largely aligns with our values.
Soon after Claude Cowork was released, $285 billion in market value vanished overnight. Traders called it the SaaSpocalypse.
This kind of white-collar wipeout story in the software sector, terrifying.
Some of those are down for 9 days in a row, so clearly the tension is building.
If AI continues improving at this pace, how much of traditional software gets replaced and how fast?
I think with AI, the pie is getting bigger, right? So the existing incumbents may be smaller in relative terms. Some of them may go down in value. Some of them may even go out of business if they don't adapt in the right way. But I would guess that the software industry gets larger, not smaller, although there will be some big losers. Those who don't kind of see what's coming, who don't identify the moats they have, they're going to have a really hard time.
It's sort of the quiet cafe.
Okay.
Anthropic's recent growth spurt might not have happened without this man, Boris Cherny, the engineer behind Claude Code and Claude Cowork. When Anthropic hired him in 2024, Cherny was living a very different life in rural Japan.
There was a lot of farmers markets, very slow. We were making miso. That was sort of the big hobby. And I remember using the first AI chatbot that I'd ever used, and it just took my breath away. And I was just like, oh my God, I have to just be a part of this. And I'm also just such a big sci-fi reader. And so I just know how bad this thing can go. This technology is incredibly powerful. And so we moved back.
You created Claude Code. You led the development of Claude Cowork. What problem were you trying to solve?
If you look at the coding products, they were all pretty simple. It was sort of complete the word, complete the sentence. That was the extent of AI in coding. And we just wanted to make a way bigger bet. And our bet was, we think actually a coding agent can do all of it. A year and a half ago, you wrote the code by hand. And sometimes you press tab and it would autocomplete a line. Now I talk to my Claude and it writes the code. And then while it does that, I talk to the next Claude and it writes some code. And at any point, I have either a few Claudes running and up to a few thousand Claudes running, doing things.
How much code is Claude writing internally for engineers here?
It's writing almost all of it. On my team, so for me personally, it's been writing 100% of my code for at least 6 months. The work of engineering has just completely changed. I feel like I suddenly have superpowers. I have a jetpack. And engineering has never been this fun.
Can we give Claude a spin?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right.
All right, so let's make a little recipe app. So make a recipe app. What do you want it to do?
I would love it to suggest meals for the week.
So, this is gonna take maybe a few minutes. And let's just see if Claude builds this.
Oh, it gave me some options. Let's do...
These look pretty tasty, actually.
I could do a Greek chicken power bowl. When I click on a recipe, I want it to show me how to do it. Thank you.
Aw. I'm sure Claude appreciates it.
I always try to say thank you.
Yeah, I always try to. Be nice too.
I don't know.
A recipe app might not be the most mind-blowing demo of Anthropic's technology, but what Claude Code just did in minutes used to take hours or days. For some, that looks like a big opportunity.
Are you like nervous about next week, or is it like
What's next week?
your developer conference?
Oh, yes, yes. There's so many things happening every week.
क्या आप भी ब्लू एरिया में बिजनेस की स्पेस ढूंढ रहे हैं फॉर रेंट? Business.
Year over year, API volume is up nearly 17x on the cloud.
In the last 12 months, we shipped 8 frontier models to developers and users.
Welcome to the second annual Code with Claude conference, where Claude superfans come hoping to get a glimpse of the future.
We're having a lot of fun. There's a ton of adrenaline.
This is the first year we've grown faster than the exponential. In the first quarter of this year, we saw, if you were to annualize it, 80x growth per year.
Ooh.
I use Claude every day in the form of Claude Code to do all sorts of stuff, not just write code.
I write way more code than I did 5 years ago. I've got the confidence of, I don't know, a 22-year-old with VC money. I'm not 22.
My friend invited me, and it's amazing as someone that's not really technical. I just think it's really interesting just to see what everyone's working on, what's out there.
I think the concerning part and the exciting part is, hey, they can do things that we couldn't dream of and timelines we couldn't ever expect. But the kind of alternate side of that reality is you really have to be prepared because they will really be 1,000 times more productive.
All of this raises an obvious question. Will engineers be the first casualties of the AI they're building?
It's been revenge of the nerds for a while. Is that over?
I think we all become nerds.
But what happens to the actual nerds?
I think the actual nerds, well, they have to figure it out. Yeah, I think for a lot of them, the skill that they had before is going to help them in the future because they sort of have a pretty big head start. They do a lot of things that are not coding. Engineers also have to talk to users. They have to plan. They have to think about what's next. So I think these are still parts of engineering that are going to stick around.
Silicon Valley may have AI fever, but elsewhere, the mood is less upbeat. 70% of Americans think AI will kill jobs, and nearly a third worry theirs will be one of them. Dario Amodei has been outspoken about this issue, and some of his predictions don't exactly sound reassuring.
I think we could have this very unusual combination of very fast GDP growth and high unemployment, or at least underemployment, or low-wage job, a lot of low-wage jobs, high inequality.
You've been really direct about job loss. AI could eliminate half of all entry-level white-collar jobs in the next 1 to 5 years. That was a year ago. AI has moved incredibly fast. Is it still 50% or is it higher?
I don't know exactly, but I'm still pretty concerned. I'm still the same order of concern. We are seeing right now that AI is making people more productive, but that's the usual hump. You automate 90% of the job, great, people are 10 times more productive in the other 10% because they're 10 times more leveraged. But eventually it gets close to 100%. Now, the sequel to that is, well, then you have to find something else for them to do. Right now, AI makes the software engineers more productive, even though AI writes all the code or almost all the code. But we're already starting to see the beginning of there may be some people that it's not making more productive, that it's better for the AI to just do the thing.
How does that sit with you?
It's very uncomfortable. Yeah, and I think this is the reason why I chose to go to Anthropic, and I think this is the reason that a lot of people here chose to go here. Is artificial intelligence is this force that is far bigger than we are, but here we can hopefully make it go a little bit better.
Do you feel like it's your job to do something about that, or is that someone else's problem?
I think it's a thing that we have to talk about. We have to advocate for it. Ultimately, it's up to society to solve it. This is bigger than one company.
There has been a lot of pushback on, and I know you've said you're trying to warn people, but that, Jensen Huang said you're conflating tasks with jobs.
AI is creating jobs. Anybody who is saying that AI is wiping out jobs is scaring people.
Other folks have said this, it's sort of doom marketing that benefits Anthropic.
So I want to be really clear and push back hard against this. In every interview, I talk about the possible ways to address these risks, from tax and macroeconomic policy to what the new jobs are. In the adolescence of technology, I have like 5 pages where I lay out the difference between tasks and jobs, why this time is different than other times. But social media, which I detest as a category, people have these 3-second clips from a year ago. I've written much more carefully about these things where I talk about the risks. So these are the idea that this is cheap marketing is itself cheap marketing. I think it's part of the disease of Silicon Valley. It's been caught up in this social media world of 3 seconds. And so my message is just definitely not doom is coming. My message is like, this is something, that we should see coming, that we're worried about, and that we need to actually respond to positively.
Beyond the software industry, the potential impact of AI on jobs seems harder to predict. Anthropic has published a paper estimating which fields could make the most use of AI in the near future. If its predictions are right, management, finance, and legal jobs could soon look very different.
Which jobs go away? Who gets replaced?